I saw her throw the charm into the river. That's when I knew something was terribly wrong. My name is Olimide, and I was just a boy when it happened. I grew up in the palace because my father worked for King Adewale. He was a great king, wise and strong, but even great kings have troubles. His trouble began the day he married his second wife, Abeni. At first, Abeni was kind. She smiled at everyone, gave gifts to the servants, and even played with us children. But something about her eyes always made my stomach twist. They were too sharp, too watchful, like a hawk waiting to strike. The first wife, Queen Sword, was gentle and quiet. She had one son, Prince Teyo, the rightful heir. Everyone loved him. He was brave and kind, just like his father. But Abeni. She didn't want Teyo to be king. She wanted her son, Little Ife, to take the throne even though he was just a baby. It started with whispers. Servants said they saw Abeni going into the forest at night. Others said her heart always smelled like strange herbs. But nobody dared to speak to the king. Who would believe a servant over his new wife? One day, Queen Sword fell terribly ill. She couldn't eat or get out of bed. The palace healers didn't know what was wrong. I overheard them saying it was like her life was being drained away. That's when I began to watch Abeni closely. One night, I saw her slip out of the palace. I followed her, staying far behind so she wouldn't see me. She walked to the river, carrying something wrapped in cloth. She knelt by the water, muttering words I didn't understand. Then, she threw the bundle into the river. The water bubbled and turned red, like blood. I ran back to my room, too scared to tell anyone. The next morning, Queen Sword was worse. And Abeni. She walked around smiling like nothing was wrong. Days passed, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I told my father what I had seen. He looked at me with fear in his eyes but told me to stay silent. If the king hears this, it could mean trouble for all of us, he said. But I couldn't. I went to Prince Teyo. He listened, his face growing darker with every word. You've done the right thing, he said. Now leave the rest to me. That night, Prince Teyo and some trusted guards followed Abeni. They caught her at the river, holding another charm. This time, she didn't have time to throw it in. They dragged her back to the palace and brought her before the king. She screamed and cried, saying it was all lies. But when they searched her room, they found charms, bones, and pots filled with strange things. The king's face was like stone as he looked at her. Why? He asked. She didn't answer. Abeni was banished from the kingdom, but Queen Sword never fully recovered. She lived, but she was never the same. Prince Teyo became king years later, just as it was meant to be. But I never forget what I saw. The river ran red that night, and it taught me that even in a great king's palace, evil can hide behind a smiling face.